We check in with TSN hockey insider and personality and host and analyst, Jamie McLennan.
The technically.
So let me ask you a question. The other guy doesn't know how to turn a computer on or plug in the internet. Is that basically what it is?
I mean, he can do those things, but not with perfect efficiency. And then once he's done those things, he runs into other hurdles, and then he doesn't get his email on his phone.
Or he's out having
wings,
like bacon and eggs, and couldn't be bothered. And it's just I can't.
Technological. Another round, please. Yeah,
you just never know.
He is. You know what he is? You remember at Super Bowl? Was it Super Bowl or the World Series? He's Chevy guy. Technology.
Yeah, technology and stuff.
That's what he is. Rick Wilde is the guy's name.
Is that what his name was?
Yeah, Rick Wilde.
Technology and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's him.
Yeah, he had that. I watched that over and over again. He had that sweaty set of keys to that new Chevy Avalanche for
Madison.
Madison Bumgarner.
Leading
Wasn't it Madison Bumgarner? And I think Aaron Andrews was there too. Like, was it not Aaron Andrews? And they were just horrified that this guy was going to collapse right in front of him. He was sweating profusely. And he was trying to get it out that this truck was cutting edge. Technology and stuff.
Technology and stuff. He needed a drink of water. He had some dry mouth. He had pits. The pit stains were going.
Those keys were dripping. It was gross. And to be fair, everyone's like, wow, what a mistake by Chevy letting this dealer from Des Moines, Iowa hand out the keys. They've gotten like 1,000-fold on their marketing dollar. We're still talking about it today.
2025. Noodles knows the guy by name.
Yes.
They basically sent Chris Farley from Tommy Boy. And that's what it was. They said, hey, you can grab a butcher and a steak out of a cow's ass. You're like, what? What is going on? But that's what it was. Yeah. And you're right. Like, it was they made millions in marketing.
Yes.
By accident. But you know what? Maybe it wasn't by accident. They were like, we've got a guy here that we know is going to bumble away and become an instant phenom, an internet phenom overnight.
That's our Rhett.
Yeah, that's Rhett. That's Rhett. Exactly. So,
what was his name?
Rick Wilde.
We have our Rick Wilde. Looks like he's connected the dots here.
Yes. Bring him in.
Just need a sec.
He's got to square up.
Anyway, Noodles, we're through 3 games in the Cup Final, and I didn't dive in, but I was on the internet yesterday just looking at clips and different things, and I see on TSN Radio Overdrive, Hayes crushes the Game 3 effort for McDavid and Draisaitl. Is that an accurate assessment, at least of Hazy's take?
I mean, you know what it is. They're always. The headlines you get radioed, right? Like the headlines, like I've had to tune them up a few times where, you're like, I didn't say that. And there's no context to it. But yes, I would say in fairness, that was their worst game since the LA series, right? Like as a group and McDavid and Draisaitl had 0 shot attempts, which is rare.
That's why.
And McDavid had 2, and McDavid got ran out of the building physically. Like Florida was all over him. I thought Florida did a great job. And Ekblad, instead of shying off on him and letting him into the zone, he's like, to hell with it. If I can get a chunk of him, I'm going to take a chunk of him. So I thought to a man, Edmonton was awful and Florida was great. So it was kind of a combination of both. And, the only thing that can fix that in a small maybe a small amount of time on a night like that is your goaltender. He has to steal one. And he didn't. Obviously, I thought Skinner was no good either. Like that first goal, he's doing the Mike Smith breaststroke. I don't know what was going on there. He lost sight of the puck and just decided to push out and tried pushing side to side to get as much depth as he could out of the net. And at one point, I think his body was facing the wrong way. Like you're like, Marchand's like, okay, I'll just shoot this in the net. I might as well. But there were 4 Oilers standing around, including Darnell Nurse, who's 6'4", and decides he doesn't want to hit anybody. So, I thought to a man they were awful, but you're led by your top players, and your top players were awful in that game. And it happens. Whether they lose 6-1 or 2-1, they're chasing the series at 2-1, and Florida looked really good.
I thought maybe look, what happened in Game 3 doesn't really have a lot to do with Game 4. I don't think we're going to see the same kind of shenanigans. We're not going to see the same kind of efforts. But the biggest takeaway from game 3 might be there's a chance Connor's not healthy now. Like, he did go down the tunnel. If he's got bad ribs or something like that, I mean, that is a huge, that would be the biggest thing you could take away from game 3.
Yeah, because they're not healthy anyways. RNH was a game time decision. You're missing Hyman. Like, now you're starting to see where the effects of, you know, a long playoff run and a couple of years back to back type of thing. I would argue both sides. You know, I don't think Reinhart scores last game. I don't think he's at his A game. Right. But, you know, that's the beauty or non-beauty of playing this much hockey, is you put yourself in harm's way. And, you know, I agree. I don't know if he went down the tunnel for equipment or if he went down to get, you're right.
We've heard both, right?
Well, so we'll see in game 4 is kind of my point. But, like, nothing else really matters. But if he hurts, that'll carry over.
There's Rick Wilde. There he is, Chevy guy. And he's got technology and stuff. Popcorn. Garrett's popcorn.
So good. I was basically smuggling crack yesterday. This stuff is the best popcorn going.
It is the best popcorn going. Every time I fly through Chicago, I get 2 giant bags, one for myself and then one for the kids. And I will distribute it, and my nanny takes some home as well. But it's the best popcorn. There's 2 shops there. There's Garrett's, and then the other one is the
Clark's.
Clark's. Yeah, Nuts on Clark's. Yeah. The best.
Deadly.
It's not cheap. They're not giving it away. It's like $30 a bag, US.
Double the price I'm paying.
Yeah.
So is
that to Buffalo, though, or to Calgary? You got to go to Chicago. You're not, you know, they're not freeze drying it and mailing it to you.
It's worth the trip. Chicago's a wonderful city if you don't mind getting stabbed. It's real good that way. So you get some popcorn, get a stabbing out of the way, and then you're on to your next destination. It's real good.
Good for you. And you're now working your camera, and you've got a wireless mic, or I don't know what you've got going there, handheld. So
wow. You know what? I'm so committed to the craft noodles. I won't give up on it till I get the job done. It's just like
that's him.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So where are you guys at? Like, obviously Florida holds the cards, but I mean, Edmonton has a game tomorrow. We've got a tie series heading home. Should
it be tied, or should it be Florida be up 3-0, or like what?
No, I don't. If you look at the high danger chances in the first 2 games, Edmonton significant. It was 45 to 29 high danger chances the first 2 games. Edmonton, I thought, was the better team as far as grading. The difference was in game 2 is the glaring mistakes. They gave up 14 high danger chances, 3 breakaways. Now Reinhart doesn't get a shot on goal on that one, but I even went a step further. I can't remember, and I asked my buddy analytics guy, Mike Kelly from SportLogic, I said, has Stuart Skinner stopped a breakaway this playoff?
Oh.
Because it was Sagan against Dallas. It was Marchand twice.
Couple against LA early.
But then Pickard came in and made some breakaway saves. That's the difference, though. Like again, I'm not laying this all at Stuart Skinner's feet, but you need a massive save when the team is hemorrhaging. So the Oilers give up a 1-0 lead, 1 minute in. Skinner's doing the breaststroke. Nurse is out to lunch. They're all just watching it happen, okay? Edmonton gets a power play. They get I think there's a 5-on-3, a bit of a 5-on-3 involved too. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Big goal blocker save, right?
The blocker save, the right pad save on Henrique. Like there's Bobrovsky put any cold water on Edmonton getting their game going.
He did in game 2. I thought he was awesome in game 2 as well. You talk about getting no chance. Like, yeah, they did, but Bob held him in that thing.
At 3-2, the Oilers were up 3-2 after Draisaitl scored that power play goal. Arvidsson had an unbelievable chance. Perry had an unbelievable chance. Bob keeps it at 3-2. Next thing you know, within 2 shots, it's 4-3. And yes, they take it to overtime, all of that type of stuff. Perry scores late. But ultimately, that game, Edmonton can distance themselves and make that a 4 or 5-2 game in the first period if it wasn't for Bob. Like, I think Bob, even though in the first 2 games they gave up, 9 goals each or whatever it was, respectively, Bobrovsky was fantastic because Edmonton was rolling. They were generating a lot of good looks. The problem is their glaring errors. The glaring errors aren't, hey, a missed assignment and a guy gets in alone from the goal line, kind of a clear lane to the net. It's like, here, have a breakaway from the far blue line. Have a potential 2-on-0 as Bennett's and Luosterainen as, I don't know what the hell 92 was there. Podkolzin was, seeing stars. I don't know what he was doing. But like, you look at it, Edmonton, if they can clear up their glaring errors, that's going to help them. The other thing too, and I wanted you guys to weigh in on it, John Klingberg, I thought, was fantastic against Dallas. He's been awful against Florida.
Yeah, they've exposed him somehow.
Well, his speed. Like his decision-making, he's smart, but he's not making his plays fast enough. And Florida's forecheck is forcing. You can blame the ref all you want. He didn't have to skate over to the ref and run into him. He could have moved that puck a lot quicker or a little chip into the neutral zone to relieve pressure. And I know the Oilers want their D to move pucks and make decisions, but at sometimes when you feel like the pressure is on, chip it into the neutral zone and live to fight another day. Klingberg and Nurse have been atrocious as far as moving pucks.
Yeah, I think Klingberg's been on for 5 of 8 even strength goals or something like that.
I'd be shocked if they didn't put Stetcher in tomorrow.
Sounds
and to be fair, like he didn't start, if I'm correct, first 2 games of the LA series. He's healthy. And he didn't look good a lot of the regular season. He looked like straight shit in Toronto so much that they put him on Robidas Island. He was on the scrap heap at league minimum. Like, we had to acknowledge that what we saw for 2 series with, Dallas and Vegas, like, that was as good as it was ever going to get. And of course it's unsustainable. Like, the guy's 32 and has been brutal for 3 years. Yeah, he's healthier, but like, it wasn't going to last, just like their bottom 6 scoring, which was never there all year and suddenly was there for 2 rounds. Wasn't going to last either.
So I hope you're right, Pinder, because you're really going all in on the Oilers suck right now.
No, they're good, but their bottom 6 has been completely outclassed by Florida, and their goaltending, always knew Florida had the edge.
Pause yourself for a second, because
disparity.
Just pause yourself for a second, because I'd hate to argue on the Oilers' behalf, but you're completely out to lunch. Noodles just talked about, we talked about it less than a week ago. The Oilers were outplaying Florida. And for you to say that their third and fourth line have been brutal isn't true. They had a shitty game. Like
they've been outshooting pretty heavily. The top 2 lines have not.
Yeah,
they haven't got enough from Podkolzin, from Brown, from Henrique. There's a lot. Those guys have been outplayed by the Marchand, Lindell, Luosterainen. The fourth line ran show yet last game for Florida.
Last game, yes, but you're jumping to one game and saying they were terrible. So don't, like, I'm with you. I think you've heard my rants.
I agree, Rhett. It's a good point. Whether they lost 2-1 or 6-1, I think what we're looking at is the sum of the parts, though. And the way they lost, I'm sitting in Toronto. They lost to Florida in 7 games, but 2 of them, they absolutely got run out of their own building and booed off the ice. If that was in Edmonton, I don't think the fans would boo them at that point in the Stanley Cup Final, but they were awful the other night. So what they need to do is check their ego. And what I mean by that is Evander Kane is an unbelievable disruptor when he's the disruptor, not being disrupted. And that's, I think, to a man the other night, they came unraveled. Florida was precision, was unbelievable at a little agitation and then take a punch. Or, hey, we're going to do this. Like they executed their game plan to a T. And Edmonton bit. When they didn't have their A game, because a lot of times if Edmonton has their A game, they say, you know what? We'll give you the toughness, Florida. You guys can be tough. Because Edmonton was tough. They were tough against Vegas. They were tough against Dallas. Florida's a different animal. So I don't think you try and beat Florida at their own game. What you do is drag Florida to go, we're going to play our game. You want to dink around? Put us on the power play. We'll see how that works out. You want to dink around? And they do have the toughness to stand up for themselves. McDavid's, he doesn't need a chaperone. He'll take hits and give hits. Same thing with Draisaitl. You don't need to show, in the Stanley Cup Finals, you don't need to show people how tough you are. And I thought, Evander Kane, getting kicked out of the game, it was just the refs going, this guy's going to do something stupid. We're going to save him a suspension. Mm-hmm. Really, we're going to save this guy a suspension or something because he is going to do something stupid. So I think Edmonton, you're right, Rhett. The first 2 games, it's a coin flip. but Edmonton actually outchanced them in both games. Last game, it's the sum of the parts. They were so awful. You're looking and going, Florida's got the upper hand here. Florida's a better team. Florida, and rightfully so, because they won the Cup last year. They beat Edmonton, and now they're up 2-1 in the series with home ice and an opportunity to go up 3-1. Edmonton needs a massive response tomorrow. Massive.
So who does it benefit? I'm trying to think if I'm playing, whether I want to come off the loss and have a couple days in between, or if I want to jump right back into it. I can't decide which team. I got to think that neither team wants to sit around and do nothing for 2 days. It doesn't really matter. But is there one team that might benefit more?
I think that's
and not just with injuries.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm to practice. They're happy we got to kill some time here. Like Florida would want to play the next day. They're rolling. They're feeling great.
Yeah, I think you look at, though, Florida. I don't know if I read this correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Florida didn't practice in the 2 days that they got back to Florida. One was a travel day. The second day was an optional.
Yeah.
So they had sparsely, guys on the ice. And it was almost like Maurice said to him, your next assignment is the game Monday night. Do what you need to do to be ready. Because where Edmonton practiced and then traveled, all of that type of stuff. I think the time would probably benefit Florida, and it might hurt Edmonton, because when you lose that badly, you're talking about for 3 days now.
That's exactly. I'm just thinking, you're sitting in the hotel room. If you'd have won the game, what's your mindset, as opposed to there's more stress for Edmonton going into game 4 than Florida.
Yes.
For many reasons. But one of them being you can't go down 3-1 and you've got to sit with that and stew on it. I can't decide. I'm just trying to imagine myself. I'm like, would I want that extra time just to get my mindset to get right on my approach to game 4, or is it a stress thing? I don't think it's going to be a huge deal either way, but I'm just curious if you.
I think it slightly the advantages to Florida because they're coming off a win, so they can go, okay, let's enjoy a day off, let's ramp it back up and do exactly what we did on Monday. Where Edmonton, as you know, and the media travels and that, these guys' phones are blowing up and they're hearing all of us talk about how they stunk. And, hey, Florida could be a dynasty now, go into 3 Cup Finals, win back-to-back, like that type of stuff. Like, I wouldn't say Edmonton was reading their press clips, but they looked pretty damn good after game 1 and after steamrolling Vegas and steamrolling Dallas. And everything kind of seemed to come together. And, hey, they beat Florida. Looks like they're unstoppable. All of a sudden, Florida goes, we're going to check into the series here now, too. And now I wouldn't say Edmonton's in one, but now they realize, like, there's a reason why, Florida lost the first 2 to Toronto and didn't even blink twice. And then they got rolling and pushed it to 7. I think Edmonton needs a response. So the response is really going to come from the top. McDavid and Draisaitl and then, Nuge and all of these guys. But Stuart Skinner, if he plays dodgeball, doesn't matter who. Would
you start him or Pickard?
Oh, I think you start Skinner because they're all out to lunch. Yep. Like, you don't lay that loss at his feet, but like, this is Skinner's opportunity to go, yeah, I had an off night with everybody else. I want the opportunity. Like, it's almost like we talked about with Ottinger. You yell at everybody, and then DeBoer doesn't put him back in to try and battle with the group. You're going to stick with Casey DeSmith, where I say you go back with Skinner and say you all lost as a group. Now go get us a win as a group, because Skinner was 8-2 in his last 10, I believe. So, he's played some pretty darn good hockey.
Do any of you remember a team getting shellacked like 6-1 in a finals and coming back? Yep. Who did it?
Edmonton was in game 4 or 5?
Game 4 in Edmonton. Edmonton won like 8-1 or 8-3 or something, whatever.
No, they're down 3-0, so there's context there, and they didn't close out the series.
That's what I'm curious about, is do teams come back? Like, we got absolutely snot bubbled 8-1 in Colorado in game 2 of my first trip to the finals. And we tried to play hard after that, and it wasn't, but you get to have almost a statement. I'm just curious if teams ever come back from a big S.
So you're saying, like, the statement, like, it broke their will. It broke your will a little bit?
Not even broke your will. It was just, when you get beat that bad, in the Stanley Cup Finals, it's convenient for us to take pot shots at them, say you're terrible, but it's convenient for them to say, well, it was one bad game and we're going to be – it's the Stanley Cup Finals. If you can't get fucking focused for that, then what are we talking about, right? Like, and it can have to do with Skinner, and it can have to do with the top guys, and it can have to do with injuries, but it doesn't matter. You're in the Stanley Cup Finals and you didn't show up and play.
Yeah, it's the worst game in ages.
Like,
almost why I look at it as an outlier, because I'm with you, Rhett. I think we forget a little bit when we came in here the morning after game one, and it was the Oilers took it to the Panthers, and the Oilers had the speed, and they looked like the better team, and then Florida stepped up. I feel like there's no chance. You had one team play nearly as bad as they could, and the other team play nearly as good. I think those two start to kind of come together a little bit for game 4. The thing about last year with that 8-1 Oilers response in game 4 is it was in Edmonton.
Yeah.
There is something. Florida, in between last year and this year, 5 games in Florida, they have neutralized McDavid and Draisaitl.
It's the top 2 centers, man.
This is a massive game for Edmonton. I think the worst news is it's in Florida where they're getting last change, and Lundell and Barkov and these guys can go to work on McDavid, especially.
Yeah.
They've done it's been a masterclass.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great point, that last change, the matchups that you want. And McDavid, it's not about I can't fight through. There's just no space. Like there's layers of attack on him, to the point that one Forsling, I pointed it out on my media, like Forsling had that one-on-one with him and he poked the puck away. And McDavid looked back and kind of threw his arms up going like, where's my support? Where's my close support where we can have a little 2-on-1 here? Like Florida played him perfectly to a T. Their D were aggressive. Their forwards were all over him. I think this is where it's up to Knobloch. Find a little extra time for, find another shift for McDavid somewhere else, farther in the lineup. If you can get a matchup that you could take advantage of. Again, that comes back to special teams, though. We can say all of this. Edmonton's power play the game before was 1 for 6. Like you got to score. Like that power play was the most lethal power play in modern day history 2 years ago. Like that power play, teams should be terrified to give them a power play. It's like, because it was an automatic goal. Right now, it's not an automatic goal.
They miss Hyman there for sure.
Well, they do, but Perry's done a good job of covering up. But I look at it, R&H is a big key. But I also think that the defensemen, like Bouchard, like their decision-making has been too lackluster. It's casual this, casual that. And there's a difference between being able to slow the game down and not be overwhelmed by the moment, the pressure of it, and looking like you're not trying. And Bouchard's always on that line, right? It's like this guy looks like he's out for a Sunday skate and kind of bumbling around, but he's a hell of a player. That being said, he had a great chance last game on the power play, and Bob got the bottom of his glove, like right on it, just a chunk of it. Like I will say, it's a lazy narrative, but Bobrovsky made the saves he should. And if Skinner, like the expected goals were 3.5 to 2.89 or something, like it was a 3-2 game, or 4-3 technically. Like that's what the numbers suggest last game. Wasn't the case. It was 6-1, right? Like I look at it and I didn't love Skinner's game, but I didn't love the Oilers game in front of him. And I think there'll be an adjustment or two, whether it's Stetcher comes in for Klingberg, or if I can't really think of anybody else coming in, Jeff Skinner maybe for Arvidsson, something like that. But the other thing too is Kasperi Kapanen, a guy who got a real opportunity and stuff. He now looks like the guy who's been put on waivers too.
Yeah, that's
right?
part of the issue is what's going to happen moving forward with the guys that we were so impressed with for 2.5 rounds. And now you're kind of going, okay, are they capable or not? Yeah. Is there a leadership, not issue, but need in the Oilers dressing room? Like I'm thinking about it, like Perry would have a strong voice. I'm 100% sure. McDavid obviously would. I don't know how much Draisaitl gets involved in running the room.
I think Ekholm's a big voice.
So my question is, if I'm the Oilers and I'm on that team, I'm walking into that room and saying exactly what you said 10 minutes ago. Quit worrying about being effing tough and win the game.
Yeah.
We don't need to get caught up with fighting and play our game, initiate, be a pain in the ass. And if they want to react to us, great. If they don't, let them take a penalty and we're going to score and shove it up down their throat. Is somebody saying that? Does Perry have that perspective on it? Or is Perry more of a let's get in their face and get them kind of thing? I'm curious what you think there.
I think, what's funny is I thought, and this might be just you just brought up leadership. Is Zach Hyman traveling with them?
I would imagine. You gotta. If you're not traveling with the team at this, why not?
I would. Well, yeah, it'd have to be surgery related if you're not, right?
Yeah.
Right. I just the point being is he's a really respected voice. Like there's guys that don't speak a lot, but when they speak, you're like, I need to hear what this guy has to say. And I look at him. I think of that video of him saying, on the Prime special last year, guys, I feel it in my heart. We'll be right back here.
Yeah.
Like I think if anything, over these last couple days, they probably had a dinner and had some guys make some speeches or say their piece and say, guys, like this is what we need to do. Because you don't always have to say it right before you're skating out. I think messages can be in small groups. I think messages can be at dinner, if they're watching, a baseball game, doing whatever they're going to do. Because these guys aren't on the golf course just killing time. Like I think they're together at their respective hotel. My understanding is a lot of times they rent like convention rooms and set up TVs and guys game and they play cards and they've got food there. And it's kind of like self-contained little bubble for them. I think there's a lot of these conversations, Rhett, that are being said going like, hey, because I don't know if you review that game tape, but I would review some of the things that went on in that game tape. Like I thought, and this is weird, but Kane's high sticking penalty on Marchand, I thought Marchand sold it. I thought
he helped it along for sure.
The stick was up and he helped it along or whatever, but good on Brad Marchand. That's a cagey veteran move. I thought there was, Bobrovsky throws himself in the air after Arvidsson.
Oh, he ran him. It was terrible attack on the goaltender. Protect the goalies, Noodles.
But in the end, like that's Florida is doing those tiny little things, the 1% things that give you a little competitive edge. And Edmonton just was reacting. That's the thing. It's Wallman's going to shoot water over. He's not shooting sulfuric acid in anybody's eyes. It's a little blast of water. And he got $5,000 for it or whatever.
Who was in between the benches that was pissed off?
Boucher, because the play-by-play guy's going, what are you doing here? It was like you at Coyotes blasting that wrestler, Brett the Hitman Hart. Like, that's a different story. But, the point being, it's actually a great story. It actually is. That guy might not remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday.
I do too, because I was scared.
We were at Stampede. Do you want me to tell this quick story?
Yes, you have to.
We're at Stampede. It's myself, Retro, Robin Regier, and I think Monty might have been there.
Yep.
Steve Mondador. And it was like an early day. Like we'd started pretty early. And we're at Coyotes, and the bar kind of was open, and guys were chasing each other around. And for some reason, back then, those pop guns, the soda gun, you press the button and fire soda out, but there's water. There's also, there's 7-Up. Robin had one and he was spraying water. No, he was spraying like Coke or Sprite at us and, spraying us. Rhett grabs one and they're having like a gunfight and there's all sorts of people there. And Rhett shoots at Robin, and Robin goes like this, and Brett the Hitman Hart is standing behind him. So this face is there, and he's just getting blasted in the water, in the face with, it wasn't water, I think it was Sprite. And he was just staring at Rhett like there was no reaction. He was just staring. Like he didn't put his hands up or anything. He just took it, and Rhett, for some reason, didn't stop right away. Like it was like, I'm going to let this go for 3 or 4 seconds, which seemed like a lifetime. And then the death stare from this guy was like, I'm going to stuff you all in a garbage can just for fun. And it was weird because it was awkward. I think we went over to apologize, but he I don't know where he was at in his state. I believe had he fallen off the bike and had a stroke and all sorts of, like, there were some things that Brett had some health issues, but it was one of the scariest moments of my life. And I didn't even do anything. I was, Seabass, I was Harry Floyd pointing, going, that guy did it. I didn't do it, but I was guilty by association.
Yeah.
And he would have stuffed you in the garbage right with me for sure. He was.
Yes. I was laughing. I mean, I probably shouldn't have been laughing, but
it was kind of
a
funny.
very, very scary moment in my life.
I was a little nervous after it dawned on me in my drunken stupor that you're spraying this man, and this man is a big man, and oh my God, that's the Hitman.
Yes.
Oh,
Hitman Hart.
Ooh. Sorry,
It is
Brett.
like out of a Adam Sandler movie or something.
Yes, exactly. Like,
it was Stone Cold standing behind that guy, of course. Yeah. Oh, you're screwed now.
oh, it's the guy with the nail in his head and Happy Gilmore going, I'll see you in the parking lot.
That's right.
That's what it was. So anyways, I think, getting back to your point, Rhett, I think there are conversations being said as a group, but this is a veteran team. It's the oldest team in the league. And Chris Knobloch acknowledged that the other night. He said, I don't think there's a lot that needs to be said to this guy. They are kind of a quiet, kind of reserved, like no nonsense team type of thing.
Can I ask you a question? It's like, if you don't win the cup, you're not a cup winner. Who on the Oilers has won cups? And yes, they're a veteran team. And does it matter? Yes, Pinder was.
One guy's won.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
has Henrique not won?
Sorry, Perry and Henrique.
Yes, but okay, so great. There's two, and that's fine. But for us to say they're veteran, I agree. Does it matter? Like, do you think it matters? Like, was Chris Pronger not a good player till he won a Stanley Cup, or was he veteran enough to know? Or
I think a lot of these top players, it's almost like coaching. I'll give you an example. Travis Green told us, we were in a scrum with Greeny this year, and we're talking about Jake Sanderson, and he said, not a lot of coaching there. He goes, this guy auto-corrects. If there's something, you could show him a clip, and he already knows in his mind, like, what he needs to do. That's my point, is you can get in there and have a rah-rah speech, but I think Adam Henrique knows he needs to play better. I think he knows what he needs to do for him to have success and his team to have success. RNH, I don't think you need to yell at him to go move your feet and make a play. Like, I think you can show clips and go, hey, there's not much time and space in this particular scenario, so you're going to have to move the puck. Like, I think what you're doing is technical stuff. The motivation and the thinking the game, I think a lot of that is nowadays it's self-taught. You can point it out. The guys look. As a goalie, I'll give you an example. As a goalie, when I allowed a goal, I knew exactly what I did wrong. And then I would look up at the Jumbotron and verify, going, yes, I'm not a very good goalie. Why did I do that? I would joke. But my point being is you knew how you screwed up. So me saying, John Klingberg moved the puck faster. He's going to look at the replay and go, God, I need to move the puck faster. Now, the question is he going to be able to do that?
Yes.
Because they've got another team that is sitting there studying the tape and going, continue to push on 36, make 25 handle the puck. Skinner, move him side to side. Let's get him moving. Like the pre-scouts, we're talking about it. These guys live it. So they're talking about it too. So I think the biggest thing is it's not the motivation, Rhett. It's more about the technical, and can you execute your technical game to a T at a high rate before the other team gets there?
Are we giving Florida enough respect?
No,
it's easy for us to say, right? Like, that's the other side. They were dialed in and great. They could be up 3-0. They
haven't trailed in the third period.
Yeah.
Edmonton has not had a lead in the third. We're 3 games in. And I agree they've been outchanced, but everyone expects Sergei Bobrovsky to save more high dangers than Stuart Skinner. Nobody said this was a washout at goal.
Right.
And they're the dark arts champs, Rhett. Like, Noodles talks about pulling a stick into your face. Evander Kane was out during player announcements when there was 5 players on each blue line plus a goalie. and the lights are down and we're about to do anthems. Everyone's on the bench. Evander Kane is skating. That's the guy someone has to talk to because he took 2 minors in the ozone in the first period. You can't beat Florida at that game.
Right.
They're better at it. They're the best at the dark arts.
Right. You're right. I do think, intimidation comes into, like, intimidation does work in certain scenarios. So I think that's what Kane knows. But the point is you've got to be in control of that intimidation so that it works in your favor and not counterproductive. Last game, it hurt him. It hurt the team. It hurt everybody. They couldn't get into a group. The penalties, I mean, the refs should not be the story of the game. I mean, 11 power plays. The game unraveled for the Oilers, but some of those penalties were ticky-tacky. Like, I will say, Kane, Marchand throws his stick up, but his stick's still high enough to click him. You know what I mean? Be in control of your stick. The cross-check on Forsling, I think, in front of Kane or whatever, it's one push. He goes down. You're like, okay, well, like, I thought some of the penalties or some of the calls were suspect, but you create your own pathway. If that's the standard that's being called, live within the standard. That's it. Like, it's as simple. If there's one ticky-tacky call, you go, guys, they're calling it this way. Let's be smart. Let's check with our sticks down. Let's play whistle to whistle because the refs aren't messing around today. That's the way I look at it. But I think there just has to be a better effort. But I don't think if you're Knobloch going, guys, don't worry about it. Just try harder next game and you'll be fine. I think there has to be some tactical adjustments here because Florida has had the tactical advantage and they've been able to expose Edmonton's weakness.
I'm curious to see how it will be called officiating wise, because on one hand, no one was happy with 8 first period penalties, whether they're deserved or not. It just doesn't allow either team to get into the 5-on-5 rhythm or anything. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, it was the penalties. You kind of liken it to Florida. It's when you're in your car, I could do 125, 130, 135, and you pass a radar. It's like, is he coming to get me? No. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I can do 130 now. So that's great. It was kind of like Florida was, okay, great. This is what we're going to get away with. And it was the perfect recipe for the Panthers. They weren't going to get in penalty trouble. They were able to get away with what they wanted to. But I just think it's too on the nose discipline. Like you say, Rhett, it's too obvious what the Oilers need to do. Do not retaliate. Suck it up. It was one of those games. Be better. I just think not that it's easy to do, but it's the number one thing they have to do. I think a lot of it is kind of being overblown because so much of that stuff happened after the game was more or less in the books.
They didn't call a penalty in the second till the last minute. It was already 4-1. So this thing was 4-4 for penalties in the first period, almost nothing in the second. At that point, the game's over.
Yeah. Well, the refs had decided we're going to let them play and they'll sort it out. Problem is Edmonton, the game got away from them because of their poor mistakes, their poor decisions. They were second on every puck. It happens. As much as you can prepare, sometimes you just don't, the mind and the legs aren't there. And to a man, it just wasn't. Now, the thing is the mind and the legs have to be there tomorrow night, and there has to be some executions and desperation. Like, that's really what it is. That they've got to play a desperate game. Because you go down 3-1, yeah, you can win 3 in a row. But statistically, man, you're in one. Like you can go home and win game 5, maybe steal game 6, like they did last year. But it's just, you're not doing it. Like, you've got to find a way. Tomorrow is a critical game, if you ask me.
Hyman is with the team down in Florida.
Good.
As we kind of figured. So now, are you Alberta bound right away?
I am. I'm flying in tomorrow. See my mom and all that. I'm in honor of my mom. I don't know if you guys seen this.
Oh, the peanut butter and marshmallow.
My mom makes these unbelievable. Oh, yeah. I made them for my kids. It is, I will say there's a few things I'm pretty good at, is like following instructions. But I made these and they are unbelievable. It's butterscotch chips, peanut butter, but the thing is, you've got to melt it. Mm-hmm. And then let it cool a little bit. You freeze the marshmallows so that they don't melt into your mixture.
Right.
And then you get this glorious, whatever, I got to get in the camera. I took a bite out of it already, so it looks like I took a dump. but it is good. Very, very good.
There is something about the color and texture of that that's always been a little disconcerting for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Darlene McLennan makes, I don't know what they're called, but she makes a mean batch of these.
Darl.
Is there going to be some of those waiting for you up in Edmonton when you get
Probably,
there?
but I don't tell her. I'm going to tell her today that I'm coming tomorrow.
Right.
That way, you know, I like to surprise her, but I also don't want the food sitting out on the counter for a week and a half. So it's like, you know, I want these fresh, not
I
made.
thought your concern was you don't want her going to all that trouble. Your concern is I need it as fresh as possible.
Can't be stale. Yeah.
Yeah, you get to work, but keep it fresh.
It's all about me, guys. I'm not worried about her feelings.
You're a good boy. Be careful up there.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, we'll see how this all unfolds. You know, by next week, we could have a cup champion or be heading into a game 7. What would it be? Game 7 would be Friday, right?
Yeah, there's some time left potentially in this series.
A few more off days in there to sort this out.
Yeah,
exactly. So, all right, guys.
Bye, buddy. Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.